What's up, metal and heavy music fans? Today we're going to talk about the new track and video from Behemoth of My Herculean Exile. So we open on two men who look like they've already been through some shit, standing outside of a cabin in the middle of the woods. Very sort of Evil Dead looking kind of stuff there. Obviously, though, from their clothing and some of the other imagery we'll see later, this is taking place in the past. I love the slinking serpent-like guitars here, which are fitting to the already ominous and foreboding visuals. They work just as well on their own, too. And despite the simplicity of it, the atmosphere is fantastic, with also the subtle little backing vocals, which I didn't even notice at first, but on repeat listens, if you, especially with headphones, you can hear these kind of like, oh, like kind of Tim Burton-y, Danny Elfman style stuff coming in. And then, of course, the drumming here is stellar, with those punctuations of the toms just echoing like thunder. From what I can gather, these two guys have managed to contain some terrible evil within this giant box that they then carry out to the water and dump over the edge. Kind of reminds me of the big box from the first season of The Strain, which, by the way, that show started off really great, and then just talk about terrible final seasons. Anyways, Nergal's vocals come in at this point, really putting everything into another very dramatic vocal performance, definitely reminiscent of material from The Satanist. Very heavy on the blackened side of the spectrum with this whole song, really, and something that could appropriately be played alongside the likes of Marduk and Satyricon. We then meet two more men seemingly returning from some journey on horse-drawn carriage. As Nergal continues his satanic sermonizing, the duo comes across the box, which has now washed up on the sand of the shore. And as it goes with the beginning of any great horror movie, these rubes decide to take it home with them. You know, despite the eerie symbol on the lock and having no idea what's inside of it.
Good luck.
One of them, curious in the night, sneaks a peek, summoning a swarm of creeping, crawling insects towards him, and then wakes up, seemingly as if it was some sort of like warning nightmare. And then they finally return home to their estate, to his waiting family and the help. The pace starts to pick up with the music here briefly, punctuated by more fantastic work on the kit, as one of the family members checks the source of the power issues during dinner, only to be attacked by a giant black energy that again looks like thousands of flying insects. He gets beat up pretty good, but what I really love is that final drum roll on this section as it drags him away to be possessed, and we go back into the moody guitar interlude. Much of this song is really kept at that more doomy pace, building slow tension as this now grizzled vessel of evil emerges and arms himself with a knife. And then here's where the drums truly erupt into more of like a tribal effect, just do-do-do-do-do-do-do. As we go into the final section, also offering some more wicked shredding on the guitars as he murders everyone in the house, one by one, even the poor crippled boy who's trying to like drag himself away. In pretty brutal fashion, too. Like, he's stabbing the wife in the face with a fork, and then he survives a shotgun to the chest and ends up taking out the remaining guy who brought the chest back to begin with. Poor grandma tries to make a run for it, only to be levitated into the air and dropped like a fucking bag of rocks. And then, interestingly, and this was kind of a nice little surprise twist, the demonic entity snaps the neck of his current host and then seemingly takes over Grandma's body instead. I'm guessing it's because she's even less suspicious. Like, who would suspect, you know, the little old lady of about to raise some actual hell here? And that seems to hold as she walks right into the town. Nobody even like gives her a second glance, despite the fact that she's kind of like bloodied and messed up looking. She goes right into the church and gives that final devious smile, likely before she starts in on this now new group of people that she can play with in this evil sandbox of hers. Overall, neat song, cool video. It has a similar vibe and structure to Blow Your Trumpets Gabriel, with its focus on the hypnotic build to a final violent conclusion. Although my one criticism is that the actual conclusion itself sort of misses that high bar of that other song. Really, it just sort of feels like it ends without as satisfactory of a catharsis. It's like, yes, we get those big pounding drums, we get those big like shredded guitar solos, but then it's just like poof and it's over. Whereas Blow Your Trumpets Gabriel like really just goes fucking all in that final section, and it is glorious. On the other hand, I feel like Nergal's performance here is some of his best work, and a big step up from the cheesy vibes that I did not like of I Loved You at Your Darkest. Still probably my least favorite modern Behemoth album at this point. Pretty solid stuff, but turning to my scales, I give it like a 9 for enjoyability. Again, despite its overall simplicity, the overall effect is very entrancing and gets me bobbing my head. I give it a B for musicianship. The drumming and vocals are definitely the standout elements, and then those solos towards the end are great, but outside of that, it's a pretty basic and even kind of repetitious arrangement. And I give it a 7 for innovation, very much in line with the vibes of the last 2 or 3 albums, really, so not much in the way of surprises. But I like the presentation. Again, I love the atmosphere, and I like the video too. It goes well with the seeming themes of the lyrics as well. So I'm looking at like a B, B- overall. Good stuff. Looking forward to getting more Behemoth, but I've already heard much better death metal so far this year. Like, it's been a great year for death metal. Speaking of which, check out this playlist for more of my thoughts on new 2022 metal and death metal, and let me know your thoughts on this song in the comments. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.